Protective Services and
Correct.
all that, for those people to sort out. But here's what boggles my mind. I did a live, it was a while back. There was an infant. He was able to walk, but he was still in diapers. So I don't know, maybe a toddler. I don't know what,
Right.
A passerby was going down the street in Hawkins County, saw this kid walking down the road in diapers, in a diaper. That's all he had on. The man pulled over and was like, hey, are you lost? Of course, it's a little baby, so it's like, can't really understand much. And so the guy called 911 and stayed there with that little child.
Right.
Hawkins County Sheriff came out, knew the child, called Child Protective Services, went to the woman's house. The woman met them there. They did a home inspection, removed the child, put it in state's custody, and put the woman in jail. From the beginning to the end of that process that afternoon in Hawkins County, with Child Protective Services and Hawkins County Sheriff's Department, it took 4 hours to get that child removed, put in state custody, and the mother put in jail. 4 hours. 4 hours.
So what's taking so long with putting Don and Candace in jail? Exactly.
That's why I bang my head on the floor every day, because a lot of people are giving Child Protective Services and Hawkins County Sheriff, and I do it myself. I come down hard on them and cuss them all the time. But things like that give you that frustration when you see this child. The police were aware, knew who the child was, which tells me that the police had probably been to that child's home before because of the mother being neglectful. But they come and pick that child up. The child is still in diapers, which means it's young, so it couldn't have been going on for that long. But here we've got Josie, who's 13 years old. And this stuff is bound to have been happening the whole entire time. Not just for the 5 years, well, now 6 that Summer was alive, but for the 13 years that Josie and the other boys were in the house. But yet this one little youngin' that's still in diapers, the cops knew who they were, just like the cops know who Don and Candace was. The cops had previously been to their house, just like the cops have been. Child Protective Services have been to their house, just like Child Protective Services have been to 110 Ben Hill Road. But within a 4-hour period of time, they have that child in safe hands and the mother in jail.
Right.
So it shows to me that, by golly, when Child Protective Services and Hawkins County Sheriff's Department see a child in danger, they jump to it, buddy, and they cut through that red tape and do whatever they do and fill out paperwork later, whatever they've got to do for the protection of that child and for the punishment of the one that's abusing the child.
So what's going on with this case then, Scott? Exactly. In your opinion?
Exactly. That's what kills me, because I know they do their job. You can read it in the newspaper.
Right.
They did their job. I mean, Johnny on the spot. Boom, boom, boom. A passerby sees a child walking down the road in diaper with no apparent legal guardian or parent around them. Passerby in Hawkins County makes sure to safeguard the child until the police come. The police come, recognize the child, call the mother, meet at the house. Child Protective Services is already en route. They get there, home inspection. child removed, mom to jail.
Right. Well, just like all these other kids where they go missing and they arrest the parents and hold them in jail until they can find something. We know it's possible. Why
Yep.
haven't they done it with Dawn and Candace?
Yep. I agree. I agree. And I've read that statement out, I know probably 10 times from that detective in Sullivan County that was investigating the Evelyn Boswell case that said that Megan's story has changed so many times about what happened with Evelyn that they could not use her as a dependable source for information in their investigation any longer.
Right.
Well, good grief. Have they never listened to Dawn and Candace?
That's what I've been yelling this whole time, sweetheart.
So I'm like, they in Sullivan County, they threw Megan's ass in jail and continued the investigation hunting for baby Evelyn.
Right.
Megan's ass is still sitting in jail. Now they've already found, of course, they found Evelyn and everything like that, and the trial's moving in that direction and stuff. But when Megan started being shady and stuff like that, they were like, well, she ain't nothing but worthless. All she's doing is causing us a bunch of lies. Let's throw her ass in jail because she's committing crimes right there by telling a bunch of lies about where her kid's at.
Gail Dorset, honey, I would say, yeah, they're trying to catch bigger fish, but the plain and simple fact is, at whose expense? How long do the kids have to, I mean, I know they're not there now, but how long did they have to suffer for them to catch the bigger fish?
Yep.
That's just wrong.
Yeah. I'm going to mute out for just a second, man. I'm going to use the restroom and go fill up my coffee.
All right. You go for it, sweetheart. You come back, okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right. At the boys' expense, too, Real Rockin' Robin. Can y'all hear me okay now? Am I still cutting out? The pics of Summer look like different girls. She and the milk jug pic look how large Summer's legs are. I think there are several Summers. I think this is a hoax. There's a cult behind this. I'm not too sure about that, Shelly. I mean, I respect your opinion, but thank you, Auntie M. They arrested Casey Anthony for her lies and inconsistencies before Kaylee was found. Sadly, her lies got her off. That's true. Thank you, Barbara Eddie. I appreciate that, hon. Isn't there a conflict of interest with Lawson and Dawn being related? Technically, Lindsay, they are not related, though. I mean, nobody's been able to find anything. They're not blood related, we know for a fact. But legally, if Lawson is related to Dawn, it's through William Goad, which would be his stepdad. And as far as we know, he hated his stepdad. I mean, his stepdad supposedly essayed his sisters and him also. Thank you, Sandy. You have a great night, sweetheart. Yes, these are multiple children claimed this summer. I know there's a lot of that going on. Here's Sally, my Jack. Hello. I've not seen you in a while. Good night, Sandy. Yeah, thanks for joining us this evening. Yes, absolutely, Sandy. No, I agree with you. They probably are. I don't disagree with a lot of things that's being said on here, but then again, I have to, if I know something that I have to say it. Like the simple fact, I mean, they are technically not blood related. Y'all got to keep in mind, Don and Candace are not Tennesseans. They are not from the hills of Tennessee. And we, like you would rebuke the devil, I'm telling you, Tennesseans, real Tennesseans, rebuke Don and Candace. Please do not hold them in the same light as y'all hold us.
All righty, I'm back.
Good. We were over here rebuking Don and Candace from the state of Tennessee.
I see PJ Sparley says, I feel like I'm on your front porch with you and Scott, Nana.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad. Y'all can hear the birds and stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. This is all I hear all day. And it's actually probably the frogs you're hearing right now. Thank you, PJ. So thankful, hon. You're awesome. And I greatly appreciate all of Scott's subs and viewers and stuff coming over and joining me. And I greatly appreciate Scott and his company this evening, and your opinions and your answers to all of our questions.
I appreciate you having me for a guest. Anytime that we, a lot of us in here really want summer found. And the way our minds work, I'm not going to say that it's fun because it's all tragic, but our minds are intrigued by it.
Right.
It's not fun, but our minds are intrigued by all these questions and the mystery behind it and trying to figure it out and looking at every word and every sentence and every paragraph and, trying to break it down and stuff. And any time that, good people can come together and talk about it and share ideas, and new people hear, different people talk about different things. I think it's great.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like I said on my channel, I don't care, to go on a panel or even have my own live, whether I got 10 people or, 500 people. It doesn't, as long as people are, interested in wanting to hear things and, possibly hear new things or think about things in, maybe a different way. And
Right. You have to think out of the box if we're going to figure this out. And one thing I wanted to point out, everybody keeps saying, well, what's so different about Summer's case than all these other cases? And the simple fact is everybody enjoys a good whodunit. But
Yep.
with Summer's case, there are so many possibilities of who done it. That's what makes it more engaging, I guess would be a word.
Yep.
And that's what draws a lot of people to it. And I agree with you, it's not fun. And I hate to say, when I'm doing a video, I hate to say I hope you all enjoyed it, because you can't enjoy it when it's about a missing child.
Exactly. The English language just doesn't afford us the words to properly express, what we mean, I guess.
Enjoy the camaraderie of it. That's what we're trying to say. We enjoy the camaraderie of it, the discussion.
I was watching a channel last night that is brand new to me. I'd heard of it, but I've only watched it a couple of times. Last night was the first time that I'd actually watched it.
What's that one?
It's a Dolly Vision.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And we kind of got to this subject on his live with his chat members and stuff. And he was like, here we are. This scenario that we've got, the Summer Wells saga, however you want to express it, has so many facets to it, like you said, and such a long list of who done it, who could have done it, and so many colorful characters. None of us want to be here, but here we are.
Right.
This is going to be one of these, and this, not to, I can't directly quote Jimmy, but basically what he was saying was, we will probably never see anything like this again. This is one of these things that there's never been a case like it. Even though he said that the Chris Watts case was pretty nutty, he said we'll probably never see another case like this one again.
Right.
This will be probably one of those things in the true crime community that 10 years from now, we'll be sitting around on a panel like this,
still discussing it,
talking about something, and I'll go, hey, Nana, do you remember the Summer Wells case? And you'll go, oh, holy cow, we thought that one was, we thought this one was bad. Do you remember the list of
whodunits? Yeah.
whodunits that we had on the Summer Wells,
Do you remember everybody involved with 110 Ben Hill?
Yeah. But, here we are. Here we all are. This group of creators and that group of creators and this group of subscribers and that group of subscribers, but here we all are. And we got this one little beautiful, precious little 6-year-old baby girl that their parents may very well know where she is and we don't. And then we've got these 3 boys that have their entire lives in front of them. And
Right.
it's just such a sad case that seems to be just never ending. It's just like, the torment, the longer it goes, the more torment the boys experience. Not taking up for Don and Candace if they did it. I hope they endured tons of torture. But if they didn't, they're enduring all this torture. All the neighbors and all the people that are on that list of whodunits are enduring torture. We're enduring torture.
Yes.
I'm sure all the police and the TBI and Child Protective Services, they are. I don't think for one second that anybody is thinking that we're anywhere even close to this case going cold.
Right.
I mean, I don't think so.
Deanna Jordan, are you speaking of me? Yes, it is. It is me that's doing that. I agree, Stott, 100%. And I don't know this. I know it has put a lot of heartache on a lot of people. And I was telling my sister or my daughter one the other day, this will be known. It will be marked down as the case of the century. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
We've never experienced anything like this case in history that I know of.
Well, this is as well, and I'm not the only one. It may be for you too. This is my first one.
It is mine. Yes, it is my first.
I know there's a lot of other creators out there that it's their first ones as well, and wow, what a case to learn on. We got a whopper.
We're going to
like
be
you said,
schooled after this one.
yeah, it's like you said, we started out on what's turned into probably, like you said, the case of the century. It's insane to think about, but here we all are, all of us,
Hey, Scott, look on the screen.
Isn't it true
Cody
that?
Bigsby's apartment's surrounded by law now.
Oh, really?
Did they find him no filter?
Let me scroll back up and see what no filter's saying. Oh, wait, I see one they retracted.
Jen, call me. I'll have you on phone. Call me. Hi, Mimi. Glad you're joining us, babe. We've got Scott with us tonight. He was very gracious to come and let us just listen to his melting voice. Sorry, Scott. Women go crazy over your voice.
Right. Well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
It is meant as a compliment, and please, I don't mean to embarrass you. This is just who I am. Okay, sorry, she read it wrong. I don't know what the correct was, but she said she read it wrong. That's why she removed it.
Yeah, no filter says Casey Anthony was there first, and they didn't even know YouTube existed back then.
Right, that's true. Guys, no filters on the phone with us.
Oh, okay.
What's up, no filter?
Oh, I wanted to let you know I put it in the comments, but you didn't see it yet. I retracted my statement because I misread that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I caught it.
It was something about Cody Bigsby and that area and the surrounding areas. I was trying to go back and get whatever news channel put it out there so I could put it in chat.
Oh, okay.
But I'm praying that at least they found one missing baby.
One
of the many that are missing.
Oh.
I mean, we already suspect that he's no longer with us, so I hope that they at least found him.
Right. Well, when you find it, just holler at me or something, okay?
Oh, I will, honey. Give me just a few, and I'll go back and see what that's all about and put it in chat for you.
Okay, thank you, babe.
You're welcome, honey.
Bye-bye. Sorry about the coughing, guys. And somebody's calling me a big flirt. I am not flirting with Scott. I am stating the obvious. I have to listen to all these women talk about his voice, so I'm just passing it on to him. Scott, you'd probably have your pick out here if you're a single man. So.
Oh, it's fine. It don't bother me. There ain't nothing wrong with having a little bit of fun.
That's right. Gotta laugh every now and then.
If you can't do that, there ain't no sense in even getting up in the morning.
And even if I was flirting with Scott, what would it matter? He's in Hawkins County. I'm 20 minutes away.
Give me a break, too. I'll take any flirting I can get.
Ooh.
I'm getting old and broke down and ugly anymore. I don't get much flirting. So
now, wait a minute. Are we saying we're single here, Scott?
I'm happily single. Yes, I am.
Oh, well, now, whoever it was that made that phone call or made that statement, you might be right. I might be flirting. Oh, your laugh is very smooth like Tennessee whiskey. That's what they said.
Yep. Oh, PJ's parlay. She's a doll.
So I've got to ask though, on your very first, like your test, you say it's your test videos on YouTube. Is that you on those videos?
My what now?
If you go way back to the beginning of your videos,
Uh-huh.
And it says a test video.
Uh-huh.
That is you, right?
Yeah.
Wow, you look really young.
Wait a minute. Hang on, let me check on my page. Let me see which one you're talking about now.
The very first one you put up.
Oh, I shouldn't.
You're right, PJ. Of course, this speaking
No,
voice is awesome. Huh?
the first one that I put up was just titled live stream.
Oh, no, I think it was a video.
The only time I've shown me was, well, online anyway. There's people offline that have seen me. I just showed a picture of me and my son, from, like I said, probably 16 years ago.
I'll have to look it up and show you what I'm talking about. No, I'm not stalking you or anything. It's just I like to. You are so mysterious for everyone.
Right?
And so I was trying to find a video. Actually, me and Don B were discussing you one day, and I was trying to find a picture of you to see what you look like.
Oh, okay.
So I went back to the very first videos and saw it was supposed to have been a test video or something you did. I'll look it up and send it to you in your email. I don't even. Do you have email on
Yeah.
your about page?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll send it to you that way.
Okay.
PJ, where are you located, hon? Oh, here we go. Non-filter saying, Scott, show us your handsome face, darling.
Right.
See, that's what I'm saying. We discuss real important stuff, and then we sort of minger off and start, joking around and laughing and, release some of the tension.
Yeah, I do the same thing over on my channel. Teresa Price says there's a musician who goes by Scott H that comes up when I search for your page.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's a Don B out there that's a singer too.
Type
When
in
you look,
Scott H has thoughts. Well, that's what I originally started the channel, and then I just shortened it. Well, it was too long for people to type, so I just shortened it down to just Scott H.
well, it's easy for you to find that way too, though. Scott H.
Yeah.
So do you like Jody Sue? I mean, I'm taking it you're sort of semi friends with her.
Well, I mean, I don't really have anything personally against her. I think, and this is, part of the reason, we'll fight like cats and dogs and stuff, because things like not involving the investigation, we get along pretty good, but I think she gets pretty far out there on her conspiracies of, the different layers and tiers of the conspiracy of creators on YouTube and how they've I was listening to her earlier. She thinks YouTube creators were actually infiltrated into the search teams in the very beginning.
Right.
To do this to her and her children. And I think that's not a little bit out there. I think that's pretty far out there. It's a little bit tinfoil hatish for me, but
Right.
I think she's kind of a nut when it comes to that. But Now
Okay, if you had,
there is stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I'm not doubting her on that at all. I agree 100%.
right,
But she has a more vivid imagination, I guess, than what I do when it comes to that. You know,
okay, if you had one question you could ask Dawn and one question you could ask Candace, and they had to tell you the truth, what would you ask them?
where is Summer?
No, okay, something other than that. I mean, it's something that would give you more information or insight. What would you ask them?
I would have to ask why, because that's one thing that we do in recovery, which, well, even if you're into religion, you know, they even talk about it and teach it in there, is uh, motives. What's your motivation? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Right,
Or why did you do what you did? What's your motive? What drove you? Was it fear? Was it guilt? Was it shame? Was it greed? Was it lust? Was it gluttony?
or was it just plain drugs? You were so out of your mind.
Yeah. What, you know, but then that gets into gluttony, you know, overconsumption of something that you know is harmful, but you continue to do it.
Right, true.
You know, so
Fun
you
fact,
get
the
into,
difference between conspiracy and fact is about 3 months. That's
yeah,
about it.
I'd have to, that would be the thing is, you know, was when it comes down to it, psychology has always been, that's one of my things that I love to study and research and listen to different psychologists and criminal psychologists and stuff like that.
Right,
And when they are evaluating these people, you know, it's just kind of like this. The deed is already done. What's happened to the boys has already happened. What's happened to Summer has already happened. Now, we don't know what the outcome of either one of those is going to be, you know, criminally, if anybody goes to jail, you know, if Summer's alive or if, you know, she's already passed on, or, you know, if the boys get the proper help and turn out good, or if they turn out just like Don and Candace. We don't know none of that. But the question is why? Why did we get to this point to where all these people are suffering? And
right,
at what point could you have stopped it and saved all of these people that you've came in contact with your entire life, the misery that you've imposed in their lives, which in turn causes their families to be miserable and upset? At what point could you have stopped that?
right. Tony's asking you, how long have you been recovered, Scott? And congratulations to you and your sobriety.
It'd be 7 years on July 28th.
Well, congratulations. I'm proud for you.
Did it for 31 years.
You do not seem that old, I'm telling you.
Right?
I don't know, guys. I've thought about it, and I believe that I would have to ask Candace. I would have to ask her about her first 2 children, and if she had to tell me the truth, I would ask her about her first 2 children and what really happened. Because if we knew more about where her state of mind was back then and why she lost those and why she abused those, we'd have a little bit more insight about why she done what she did to these.
Yeah.
And Don's just a pervert. I mean, I can't even stand looking at him.
Yeah. And see, that's another thing. We don't know. We really don't know. I read a thing. Now, I don't know. Again, when it comes to law and stuff, I am not an expert on that. Nowhere even close. But someone who seems very knowledgeable sent me multiple emails because Chris McDonough is making the claim. If there's somebody here, we've got 93 people watching. One of these 93 people are smarter than me, which you probably all are. If any of y'all have any knowledge of law, please reach out to Nana or myself so that we can present it, and then whichever one presents it, we'll share it so it'll get out there. Chris McDonough is claiming
absolutely 100%
that there is a statute of there is no statute of limitations on SA in Utah. Don't quote me on these dates. I'd have to dig back through the emails. But
2013.
I was going to say it was 2013 or 2016. They passed a law that said now there is a statute of limitations. Is that correct, Nana?
Let me try to explain this the best I can, and I may not be able to explain it where everybody can understand. Okay.
The way I understand is it's not retroactive.
Right. If the charges were brought, if it was a case that was already being heard, then if the case was already in process and then it got dropped, they can't go back and charge them with it. But if it had not been, no charges had been processed, then yes, they can go back and actually start a new case on that. But if there was already a case before, then they can't go back and redo it. That's how I read it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Now that the person that emailed me that's why I want somebody that's smarter than me, because the person that explained it to me explained it opposite than what you did. That anything that was in process up to that time, but after they passed that law, it was not retroactive, which means the way they explained it to me was they could not go back and file a claim on someone that essayed them prior to the passage of that law.
Right.
Now, again, which means that there's no way that Dawn and Jeannie and the other 5 could file charges on Dawn.
Right.
Now, again, that stuff is complicated for me, and you understood it in one way.
Okay.
The way that the woman that emailed me, explained it to me. Both the way you explained it to me makes sense, but the way that she explained it to me makes sense. So I'm
Okay.
like, well, I don't know. I read it and I'm not smart enough to figure it out, apparently, because both y'all are saying different things, but both of you make perfect sense to me.
Okay, this is just the little snippet at the top of the page. It says ex post facto law, the law that retroactively makes criminal conduct that was not criminal. If it was a criminal thing back when, like being with someone under the age of 18, if it was not a criminal case, if it wasn't against the law before a certain time, and at the time they changed the law, it became a criminal act when performed. In other words, back when Don did what he did, or allegedly done it, if the girls were, older than what they were, because messing with kids is always wrong. But back when he done it, if the law did not say, hey, this is against the law, and then after they changed it and it became against the law, it increases the punishment for crimes already committed or changes the rules of procedure in force at the time an alleged crime was committed in a way substantially disadvantaged to the accused. That's not the whole thing. There's I actually looked up the actual law, and I forget the name of it. It's something in Charles. I don't see it right here. I will look that up again tomorrow. But it's just meaning like, say 20 years ago, you were with a 17-year-old, and at the time it was not against the law. And 5 years down the road, they made it against the law. If charges were brought up back when that child was 17 and the case carried on past when the law was changed, they could not actually carry on with the charges. This is the way I understand it. But like I said, I'll re-look it up.
Okay.
But if the child was 17 then, and then they waited until after the law was changed, and then her parents found out, then they could actually go back and charge him with it.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got you.
If that makes sense to people, I don't
That,
know. I'm not
that
real good
makes,
at explaining things.
that makes sense. Now, is that just a general thing that was looked up, or is that actually from Utah?
That was that's I believe, if I remember right, that's pretty much in like the big house. That's for everybody.
Oh, okay. Is that federal then? Okay.
Yeah, I believe, but don't hold me to it.
Well, it would have to be state because they keep saying his charges in Utah.
But
So,
it may have been state. I was focused more on the actual, because I believe the same woman sent that to me and it was asking me about it.
okay. Let's see.
So I had actually went and looked it up.
PJ's parlay says PJ's parlay is saying Chris M said he's culpable. And Funny Face Brenda says, I heard former FBI Jennifer last night say that Utah has probably made whatever in this case, if I understood correct, improvisations.
Yes.
I
would have.
All Good says that's like if a person is found guilty of murder they committed 50 years ago. Right. Okay. Years ago, they go by the sentencing from 50 years ago. DS Career says Chris M says Utah. That's what PJ's parlay said.
If anybody wants to look it up, it's called the pro facto law.
Okay. I'd like to dig into that to see. Just,
Right.
Because I want to know. I want to know. Is there really something that Don, better be concerned about? Because, he's fixing to get a ton of bricks dumped on him. Or is it just, more fluff out there to add more distractions and get everybody all hyped up? Because I don't want to get all hyped up about Don having SA charges if there's no law saying, or if there's a law saying, nope, they can't charge him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I don't want to be misled. Do I want Don punished for what he did? You damn right I do. But do I want to be misled thinking that he's going to get charged and then get let down and find out that these 7 women aren't going to get justice? No, I don't want that at all.
Right.
And I don't care whether it's Chris him or not. He's not the end all be all.
No. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You do not understand how much it means to me for you to say that. I'm not a big fan there at all.
Well, he did some good in the beginning with his interviews, for sure. But you have to remember, Unmasked did some pretty awesome things too. Because that was about as fresh as you got right there. So now a lot of those videos are down, but a lot of them have been screen recorded, and if you look really hard, you can find people that have got them. But
I don't know if he cares if I say this or not. If you care, not you, Scott, if you care if I say this, you better tell me now, because I'm fixing to read what you text, okay? Don B says, I don't want to come up, but I think it has to do with a child. Then there is no statute of limitations. Don was 18 or 19 when Jenny was underage, so it would not have a statute of limitations. I don't think they would have bothered calling Don all the way across the continent if there were statute of limitations on the case. I agree.
yeah, but again, where did we get that information that Utah actually called?
From Chris McDonough.
Well, I mean, I'm not doubting Don B.
Right.
But what I am saying is Chris McDonough is notorious for putting out certain titles to get Don or Candace or whoever involved to adjust their story to fit what Chris's title is. And then when the show comes, it's something totally different and blindsides him.
Right.
I mean, you got to, I'm not doubting it. Like I said, I just don't know enough about the law and that stuff to know. And I would really like to know, I wish Don B would, and maybe he has, maybe I've just missed it, if he would post that link, because I'm extremely interested, which he's mentioned several times, about the Summer being the only child under 8 years old and the felony, which, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier when the lead investigator said about it, the CPS case bleeding over into Summer's investigation. Again, Don B has said that multiple times, and I trust Don B. I just haven't seen the paper. If that's the case, if what Don B says about the minor being under 8 years old, and if what Don B is saying about the statute of limitations, Don and Chris are saying about the statute of limitations in Utah, Don Wells doesn't have a bucket big enough to bail himself out of the boat that's sinking on him.
Right. And Don B he does know what he's talking about because I've looked that up myself. It is 8 years old is the thing right there.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm definitely not doubting Don B, and I don't think Don B would ever, mislead us. I've never seen it. I trust that Don, I mean, he may have posted it on his community tab and I missed it. I mean, it's very possible. Definitely, right. I'm not saying that I don't think Don B is credible or trying to mislead us or reading wrong information to us. Not at all. But, I just like, for my mind, I like to see it and go, okay, this is definite, no question, without a doubt. Same deal with Utah. This is definite, no question, without a doubt. Because I want Don to pay a heavy, heavy price.
Yeah, I believe we all do.
I want him to pay a very heavy price. Because I do not Don B, Don Wells.
Right. We all love Don B, trust me.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I listen to every video that Don B puts out.
I do too.
But I just, just for my mind, I'm just that way. That's just the way that my mind works. It's not that I'm ever doubting anybody, but I'm always skeptical of everything. And when I see it, then I'm like, or when it's better explained to me, or, when somebody, I've got the document, they've got the document, and we read it over together. Just for my mind, it's just my mind. It's just the way I work,
Right. No, I'm right there with you. I have to look stuff up. I have to, when somebody tells me, I learned a long time ago, and it was actually with King James Version Bible. If somebody tells you something, don't take their word for it. You go look it up and get your own interpretation of it and know for a fact yourself what it says.
Yeah. I just I don't know. I've always been that way. It's just, well, it's part of every job that I've ever had when I was growing up, and that, I guess it was from the way that I was brought up, the way that I was raised. Everything had to be right. You could not mess up because, well, it's like, in the beginning, when I was younger, I was a mechanic for like 10 years. You can't forget to tighten up the lug nuts on the wheels when you put them back on when you do a brake job.
Right.
Or somebody's going to go down the road and their wheels are going to come off and they're going to wreck and die and hit another car and kill their kids. And then I changed professions and I went into another profession when I was dealing with a lot of other people's money when they were building houses and stuff. And you couldn't be wrong because everybody was planning their house around information that you were providing and you provided to them. So, you couldn't screw up.
Right.
And of course at that time, lives weren't in danger, but there was a lot of people's money in danger, So my brain is just always, and I guess that's why, and I'm not bragging or anything, but I guess that's why I was really good at both of those professions, is because I was so meticulous in everything, making sure that everything was spot on. And that's just my brain, the way my brain works. But, the first time Don B ever came out with that, I let it play through and then I hit the play again button.
Yeah.
And I listened to it again and I was thinking to myself, if Don B's right, Don Wells is in a heap of trouble. And this is, Don B was telling this long before the lead investigator came out and said anything about the cases bleeding over into each other.
Yeah.
And then Detective Pruitt comes out and says that. And then Don B, I think, it talks about it again in a more recent video. And then we hear, the things about the Utah calling Don in jail, which has got to be recent, and I'm like, oh, holy cow. And that just goes back to more things, with what we were talking about as far as everybody, getting kind of discouraged thinking that they don't have anything. Well, they may have a whole lot. It may just end up looking a lot different than what we're thinking it's going to look. They may be coming at it. They may be coming at it from the CPS angle, or the Utah angle. And that stuff, that we just, number one, we can't know because, it's Child Protective Services, they're minors, all that stuff is, protected by law. You can't go in and dig into it. And then everything else on the Utah front is, quiet because Jeannie doesn't, come out and talk about it. And the other 5 or 6 ladies don't ever talk about it. Mary talks about it, but when she does, it's, with like Chris McDonough or something. She's not like, panel hopping every night on YouTube like
Right.
Don and Candace do, drunk, so she gives updates, but it's not like I wouldn't call her like she's a blabbermouth or something,
Right. Now, I know she went on Doug's or No Thanks channel a few times and gave some information on there, but yeah, she's not running the streets of YouTube screaming to the top of her lungs all she knows. So,
and I'm glad.
Yeah.
And I'm glad Jeannie's not either. And, I'm glad for the sake of the boys. It's like, that's why I did that whole stream, which ended up, showing that Donna Serafina is nothing and always has been a fake and a fraud and a scammer and a grifter.
Scott, you're winning my heart over. I'm telling you, you've got to quit talking like that.
Well, people, they were talking the other day, and thank goodness for Justin on Justice for All. He brought it up, I think it was last night or night before. He did a live after me and brought up asking his audience, what do you think about what Scott H. did? And he read the news report, one of the news reports about Miss Donna Lambert. And everybody's like, oh, medical marijuana ain't no big deal. Go listen or look it up yourself if you don't believe me. In that sting that Donna Lambert was busted in, there was guns, there was money, there was opiates, there was heroin, there was cocaine, there was methamphetamine, and there was marijuana. And even if it was, oh, it's just marijuana, well, when she got busted, marijuana wasn't legal then.
Right.
So yes, marijuana was a big deal then. As far as the law concerns, I don't care what your opinion or my opinion is on marijuana. That has nothing to do with it. The fact is, she broke the law where lots of heavy drugs were involved. And that's just one of the things that we could talk about concerning Donna Lambert.
Well, I agree with you and all that. My biggest thing and I'm not saying that I do not believe in psychics or clairvoyance. I do to an extent. But come on. If those spirits spirits that she keeps talking to was going to tell her darn thing. It's been 10 months. They ain't helped out no more than anything else has. Why haven't they told her something? Evidently, they don't like her too darn well.
Well, and if that's the case too, wouldn't every other psychic have the same vision that she does if they can all see the truth?
Exactly.
All the tarot card readers would be reading the same thing. All the psychics would be seeing the same thing, but yet every one of them sees something different. Now, how's that work?
I don't know, but I'm telling you what, I know for a fact Summer Wells ain't buried under the aquarium. She ain't buried under the merry-go-round at Dollywood. She ain't under the